Hi guys, I'm here today to do part 1 of my midwinter book haul. So this part is all the YA books and the fantasy books that I've recently purchased or been sent. So it's quite unusual for me to talk about YA books, and that's because I tried YA books when I first joined BookTube about 6 years ago. I tried quite a few of the ones that everyone was raving about and just didn't enjoy them, and over the years every now and again I'd hear people review YA books and I just never really felt inclined to reach for them. But I feel like particularly in the last couple of years I've heard about more YA books that are tackling more complicated issues, and also in the last sort of 6 months I have felt more inclined to read books that I guess are like more page turning and compulsive and more fun. I read lots of books that are quite difficult reads in terms of content and writing style, and I just feel like giving myself a little bit of a break and trying to mix my reading up a bit more. So I originally planned to go to the library to get a few YA books out, but then on the day I wanted to do that I couldn't be bothered to walk to the library and I was right near a Waterstones, so laziness ensued and I bought some books. So the books I bought from my local Waterstones are Big Bones by Laura Duckrill. So I know Lauren from Lauren and the Books read this book and loved it I think a couple of years ago, so when I saw the cover it was one I remembered hearing someone talk about, because you know that area of the bookshop is not something I'm comfortable in, so I sort of am using other people's recommendations mainly to choose these books. And yeah, I just thought they sounded really fun and quite nostalgic, and I love food, so excited about this one. I actually started reading it. This was the first one I decided to pick up, and initially I really enjoyed the voice, and then I got about 70 pages in I was just a bit unsure, but you know I've not really read enough to make an ultimate decision, so I just ended up reading other things. But I'm definitely going to go back to this and you know, we'll update you guys. And then another one that I had heard quite a few people talk about, but in particular I know Lauren has put this in her favourite books of the year I think twice, and that is One by Sarah Crossan. So I think this is entirely told in verse, and it is about two sisters who are conjoined twins, and I think she has a couple of other books out that people really rave about. So I had a read of a few pages quite quickly in the bookshop and really enjoyed it, so I thought I'd pick that one up. The one I've taken a bit of a risk on because I've never heard of it, and I saw the cover and thought it was quite, it stood out, it didn't look like a lot of the other covers there, is Mud by Emily Thomas. And then when I read about what this is about on the back, I was like, I'm going to pick this one up. So actually I don't know how I found out what it was about because it barely has a blurb. Basically it's about a family who decide to go live on a houseboat, and we follow Lydia as she like adjusts to that and adjusts to her new family life, and it sounds like it's just going to be quite slow paced and contemporary and quiet, and hopefully like focused on home life and nostalgia. So yeah, thought I'd give that one a go. And then these two I've heard so many people rave about and thought I finally should read them. So one is The Miseducation of Cameron Post, with these phenomenal end papers which I love. I think I actually had a copy of this book a few years ago, you know, and never ended up reading it. And I've heard mixed things about this book. Some of my friends really enjoy it and some of them don't. But I would like to give it a go, and I also know it was made into a film. I don't know if this is perhaps the movie tie-in cover, I don't know. But I'm planning to read this, and if I enjoy it then I will of course watch the film. But yeah, I just had heard too many things about this one to not pick it up. Same with this next one, and this is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, which has these very bright end papers. And I need to take that sticker off. So yeah, I think everyone knows about this. I think this is being made into a film as well, or maybe a TV show that comes out quite soon, or may already be out. I'm really not up to date on all these things. But yeah, I've had too many people rave about this one, and I think she actually has a new book coming out soon. So yeah, I think it's about time I get to it. And then I realised when I picked all those up, I had a real lack of fantasy, and really what's got me back into you know, thinking I'll give YA a go is reading The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. And I know that book has loads of issues, but I enjoyed the process of reading it. I loved the fact that I kept speeding through the pages to find out what was going to happen. And it made me remember how much I loved reading YA fantasy with a bit of romance when I was a teenager myself, and so I wanted to pick more of those books up. But I think the problem is it's a really known genre, so I knew most of the titles on the shelves, but I've heard lots of negative things being said about lots of those books, so it sort of put me off. So this could be bad, but I just hadn't heard anyone talk about it, and that is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Camarera. I don't know how you say that. So this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and I had a read of the first couple of pages and it sort of pulled me in and intrigued me. So I thought this is a bit like fantasy, a bit romancy, and hopefully this will be one of those ones I want to speed through. And I think it's going to be a series, aren't they all? So yeah, we shall see. Let me know if you've read this one or heard much about it, because it was one I hadn't heard of, and as I said, most of them are recognisable titles. Do feel free to let me know what YA fantasy you think is worth giving a go for somebody who doesn't generally read YA fantasy. So I like romance in books, cannot deal with insta-love, and I also don't like really fast-paced books, so I need something that's a little bit slower and doesn't involve insta-love. So yeah, recommend away. And the last YA book I was actually sent from the publishers, and they asked me if I'd be interested, and I said yes. I really like the sound of this one. This is The Burning by Laura Bates. I think most of us know Laura Bates from the Everyday Sexism Project, and she has quite a few feminist non-fiction books out for adults and for teens, and I haven't read any of her books, which is quite shameful. And this is her first fiction. And this is about a girl who moves to a new town because of something that happened in her previous town that I think is involved in like sex shaming or something along those lines, and this thing follows her to her new town, and it's about how she deals with that. So this could be quite upsetting, but I feel like someone like Laura Bates, who, you know, focuses on feminist non-fiction, should handle this well. So there's that one. So now I have a few fantasy books to show you. So this first little mass marker paperback arrived in the post today. I'm going to start this today. This is Dagger Spell by Catherine Kerr, and this is volume 1 of the epic Devilry series. So this is the February book club read for the Queens of the Realm book club, which is run by Chris over at Chris's Bookish Cauldron. So I'll link his announcement video and the Goodreads group down below. And I started the January book and didn't enjoy it, which I know a lot of people didn't, so I think we're hopeful that this one will be something we all enjoy. And this one, to me, sounds more like my sort of thing. To be honest, I didn't really look into it that much. It says, in a world outside reality, the flickering spirit of a young girl hovers between incarnations, knowing neither her past nor her future. But in the temporal world, there is one who knows and waits, Nevin, the wandering sorcerer. I don't know. But yeah, when I read the description, it sounds like it's a coming of age story following a young girl. It sounds like it might be a bit slower. All those things I enjoy, if I don't enjoy this cover. So there's that one. So I'm going to start that today. And the one I've already read, these next 3 I bought in Forbidden Planet a couple of weekends ago. So this is Phoenix Unbound, and this is book 1 in the Fallen Empire by Grace Draven. So the day before we were in Forbidden Planet, I'd seen Jean do her wrap up in which she spoke about this book and how much she enjoyed it, and then I was in Forbidden Planet with Jean and saw this one, and so picked it up. So yeah, I'm not going to talk about it here in detail because as I said, I've read it, but if you haven't seen Jean's video, this is about 2 characters. One is a fire witch, and she is sent as a sacrifice every year to pretend to burn to death for the Empire. And the other is a male gladiator who's been trapped as a slave and taken from his homeland for many years. And the book starts with him sort of recognising her for what she is and blackmailing her to help him escape, and you then follow their journey. So that is what that one is about, and I actually quite like this cover. I'm not a big fan of those covers where there's 2 people like gripping one another centrally, but I quite like this one. There's that. And this other tiny little mass market is Deerskin by Robin McKinley. And Robin McKinley is a name I hear a lot about, especially in reference to someone like Juliet Marillier. Robin McKinley's books all look like they're quite short, which is, you know, quite different to Juliet Marillier. And I have no idea if the writing style is similar, but they're sort of that historical, female-driven fantasy with romance. That's the sort of group they fit into. And there was a few books by Robin McKinley in Forbidden Planet, but I like this cover and just really like the sort of tones on it, and also quite like the sound of it. So this follows a girl or princess who is a breathtaking beauty, but she is forced to flee from her father's wrath, and then she goes on an adventure with her loyal dog Ash, and we follow her from there. So yeah, I think this one will be quite detailed and perhaps slow and maybe have a little bit of romance. I'm not sure. there's that one. And then this one is a recent release. I think it's just come out in paperback, and I'd not even heard of it in hardback, so I don't know, I guess it came out in hardback originally, but yeah, this is The Queens of Innisleia by Tessa Grattan. And this follows a king who's drained the realm of all of its magic, and he has 3 daughters that are the only chance at resurrecting the kingdom, but their father refuses to leave them to protect the kingdom, and so the kingdom goes to war about who will run Innisleia. So yeah, I don't know what to expect in terms of pacing, anything, like I don't really know, but this one is around 550 pages and the font's quite small, so I think this is sort of deceptively, it looks like a smallish fantasy, and actually I think it's going to be quite long, but yeah, I'm intrigued. So those are all the fantasy and YA, and the same as I said for YA, please feel free to recommend me more fantasy. I traditionally read quite epic, large scale series, but that were more in the literary end of fantasy, slow paced, character focused, which I love and adore, and do feel free to recommend me more books. I avoid lots of the books that fit that remit because of their representation of just any form of diversity, but if you know of some that you feel like actually portrays that, feel free to recommend. But I'm also now getting into reading this sort of whole other swathe of fantasy of historical fantasy, or fantasy with a touch of romance, all those sorts of things. So again, I don't know much about it, feel free to recommend. So thanks for watching, and do let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!